let's talk about the future of cannabis culture. Where you're headed, the new projects you're working on, all that sort of stuff.
Well, I think that there's a lot of room for the magazine to grow and expand around the world, definitely. I think our numbers have been going up in North America pretty steadily. We've been buying promotional space and getting ourselves into newsstands where we're not otherwise there. You've got to pay people to put you in their stores on a trial basis sometimes. The magazine industry is kind of a strange one. It takes a long time to get your money back when you launch a new edition, but we've done our first best of. The first best of Grow special came out in early summer, and we got a second best of coming out in early December. So we're going to be basically from 6 magazines a year, now we're doing 8 magazines a year, 2 best ofs. And I think that's good because I think a lot of our readers would appreciate seeing some of our early content. And we had some really good stuff on those early issues that is not really out anymore. We're only printing a few thousand copies. So some of these will serve as kind of a historical document with our best stuff and the stuff that wasn't up to par, to our modern standards. We don't do that again. So that's quite exciting to be doing that. And also our magazine's grown a lot bigger. We used to, this time last year, we were at just over 80 pages. With our coming issue, we're going to be at 120 pages, so that's a 1.5 times increase in size. A lot of that's due to our increased ad revenues that we're bringing in, so I'm feeling good about that. We're getting more and more advertisers, and as pot becomes more and more acceptable and more into the mainstream, I think we're going to see more and more mainstream advertisers coming on. I'd love to see, Hostess Potato Chips got the Munchies ads in our magazine and whatnot. And our biggest project over the summer, and the one that's been the most effort on my part, is our German edition, Cannabis Culture, and I got a copy here. It looks very similar to the last issue of Cannabis Canada, same kind of cover. It's sort of a blend of stories from the last few issues. But if you get a good shot of that there. But it's been a big project, and of course the costs have been higher than I expected, and there's been lots of problems putting it all together. But I think the first issue looks really smooth. Our second one is on the presses in Germany as we speak right now, and should be coming out quite soon. And I think there's a good market for that. I'll probably talk more about the German magazine and what it took to put it together on an episode of Weedy Wednesday. But I think that there's a global market for cannabis. I think that this is really a global issue. I think the cannabis culture crosses all borders and all cultures in that way. As a cannabis smoker, I feel I can go anywhere in the world with other cannabis smokers, sit down, roll a joint, and smoke. And even if we don't speak the same language, there's that universal language of cannabis. I think that's there. So, and we're looking at getting our magazine out in some other languages and other editions. But those are projects that I'd rather talk about once they're all put together. But I think there's a lot of room for growth out there, and we have an international perspective in our magazine. Try to cover not just North America. We try to cover, we do a lot of stuff on Australia, as our regular readers know. We cover Australian and Mardi Gras and events there, and in the German one, we'll start covering European and German news more. So I think there's a lot of potential and growth for the cannabis culture and our magazine as well together. I think that, and I think there should be lots of marijuana magazines out there as well. Heads is the new magazine. They just launched a Quebec edition called Cannabis Quebec, and that's good. I think there should be lots. I think how many Car and Girl and whatever other magazines are there out there.
Let's try to name all. There's North America. There's my magazine Pot Shot, your magazine Cannabis Culture, and you got the German edition, and you got the online edition, and now I got my online edition.
Oh, you got Pot Shot online.
PotShotZine.com.
Congratulations!
And then
and there's a Spanish magazine called Kenyamo. High Times has also launched a Spanish translation called Yaba, I believe.
Wow.
Then in Germany, there's already Hanf Grow and Hanfblatt, and in England, there's Weed World, Red Eye and also Red Eye Express. And there's got to be other ones that I'm forgetting, but that's quite a few magazines already. Oh, and then there's Heads, the Quebec edition called Cannabis Quebec.
Right.
And
that's just the main players, the G8, so to speak.
Yeah, there's also countless other zines and newsletters and things like that. There's something else in England called CC News, which is kind of more of a newsletter kind of piece. Oh, and there's also in France, there's Les Echos de Chanvre, which is more focused on the hemp aspect of it, because French has harsh censorship laws. There used to be a magazine called L'Elephant Rose in France, and then you got another one called Fait Nature, which means pass it back, kind of like a pot. And they both got shut down by the French government in France, so as under their censorship laws. But there was those as well.
Do they exist on the internet too?
Most of those magazines have websites. I'm not sure what they all are off the top of my head, but if anybody could find them with a quick search. But I've been thinking of doing an article in that, and probably in the next issue of Cannabis Culture, actually, just about
resource review.
And talking about our expansion in a book, because there's a lot of information out there, and I expect that within the next 5 years, that number of magazines will be doubled. And I hope it should be. I think that there's a huge market for this information out there, and there's so much stuff going on. I always have a hard time deciding what not to run in cannabis culture, what stories I can't cover, because so many things are going on all around the world all the time, and they all, deserve coverage. People sometimes say, how can you do, like people who don't really know much about pot culture, like how can you do a whole magazine of marijuana. What is there to write about? And I'm like,
only the
if
number
only
one
you
medicine
knew. Yeah, I mean,
and recreational
there's
drugs.
so much from how to grow and historical information and just even current events. There's so many activists and people who are being incredibly brave in the face of very hostile circumstances out there. So it's something and there's so many rallies and events and things that are going on all around the world. So
it's a beautiful magazine, folks.
Yeah, you can see it's on, and the name of it's Cannabis Culture, spelled with the culture spelled with the K and without the E, and it's online at cannabisculture.com. But we got the Emery seed catalog in there as well, and so it's all in there. And
in the spirit of cooperation, I was just wondering how much is a full page color, in our magazine here?
In Cannabis Culture, it's about 1,200 euros or so, and that's about the same price. It's about 1,200 American dollars in our North American edition, and I think it's a steal, really. Our ad rates are much lower than other magazines that have the same circulation. And
what is the circulation?
We're printing 70,000, actually about 75,000 copies of Cannabis Culture right now, and we printed 27,000 copies of the first issue of CK, and I'm hoping those numbers will both continue to go up. In Germany, the top magazine, Hanf, they print about 70,000 already in Germany, so there's definitely a growth market there for potential for our magazine, and these numbers are only going up, and hopefully not only for us, but for all the marijuana magazines out there, because there's lots out there. So,
I just wanted to ask you, as pot activism, maybe is it sometimes do you wake up in the morning and is it like, oh, it's biting into my life, I could be out playing, or is it you wake up every morning, take a big fatty and focus on the perks and the new things that you've learned from pot?
Well, it's a mix of both, I'd have to say. Sometimes it's frustrating, and I feel like, why am I doing this? There's got to be better ways to spend my life or whatever. But also the positive feedback I get from people, especially from Weedy Wednesday, even more from the magazine, but from both the people who tell me how this is really, they read the magazine and they feel inspired to do something good, or they're moved in many ways. And people who come into the store sometimes are also very, especially Americans who come up and sort of see this freedom, they're kind of shocked by that, and so that makes it worthwhile. And I'm able to actually get paid and make a living at what I do, which is pretty rare for marijuana activists. Most of them out there aren't making any money at it, and are spending their own resources, and are often quite poor because of that. So I think I'm quite lucky in that respect, that I'm able to actually have a nice life and also be able to do something that I think makes the world a better place. And that's what everyone ultimately should be able to do. Find something that you're passionate, that you believe in, and then find a way to make a living doing that. And that's what's would make the world better, rather than having a soulless job that doesn't appeal to you and you're not really happy with what you do. But I think I've really, in many ways, I'm blessed to be able to do what I do, and it's been a constant growth. I'm lucky because the magazine gives me new opportunities and new things to do. I've learned a lot, and it's all self-taught. So I like what I do. Most mornings I wake up and I feel pretty excited about what I have to do that day. So I think I'm lucky in that regard.
Well, you do a fantastic bang-up job, and what can I say? Keep on doing the good work that you do.
We'll have to have you on Weedy Wednesday sometime so I can interview you, and we can do this all in reverse.
Great exotic drug there.
There you
seems
go.
to
We'll
be
do
the popular shows, right? When you demonstrate the drugs.
People, we'll do an LSD show one of these days, but not too soon.
Well, we should go into the botanicals, man, because that's
we'll do something fun. We'll do something fun.
Right on. All right.